Now, in terms of the Nahwu, we looked last week at the. We were looking at the different things now. Why isn't it scrolling now? We looked at the different functions that get fulfilled by harf. Right? We said it's the fa'il, the naibul fa'il, mubtada, khabar, ismu kana, or it says and it says this, and the khabar of inna and it says. Last week we specifically looked at the fa'il, right? And we looked at the number of points about the fa'il, how to find the fa'il. We do ili at the end, to the left or inside, and then we said the fa'il will never be on the right hand side; it will always be on the left. And I also just pointed out that if you have an active form verb, a ma'loom verb, there will always be fa'il. And we also mentioned that sometimes the fa'il can be mabni. So what we did there for homework is, just Nazareen would have sent you the exercises for homework. Right? So I'm not going to go through all of those exercises here. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to send you all of the answers. Right? I'm going to send you the answers to all of them. And then if you have any questions about those answers, those things, and then you can pose them in the next lesson, inshallah. But I think that's pretty straightforward. Right. The next thing we want to look at, the naibul fa'il. The naibul fa'il. So what is this naibul fa'il? Just recount for me what you remember about it. Okay, we translated it as a substitute for the doer. Fine. What else? You look for this when you have a majhul verb, whenever you have a majhul verb. And you apply, how do you find it? By applying ili. So the same way you look for a fa'il. But what is it essentially in meaning? In meaning, it's the same like a maf'ulun bihi. Like if I say, kutiba al-kitabu. Kutiba al-kitabu. The book was written. So the action of writing was done to the book. So it's actually in meaning a maf'ulun bihi. But because in a sentence with a majhul verb, there will be no fa'il. Right? We upgrade. It's almost as if we upgrade the hal of the maf'ulun bihi to raf. What we're doing is we're upgrading the hal, because raf is the hal of primacy. Because there will be no fa'il in the sentence. It's like we're taking the maf'ulun bihi and we're upgrading its hal to raf, and we're now calling it the naibul fa'il, the substitute for the doer. But essentially in meaning, it's the same like a maf'ulun bihi. So in form, and how it looks, how it sounds, it's the same like a fa'il, but in terms of meaning, it's the same like a maf'ulun bihi. And that's the whole thing in summary, actually. So what points do we have here? Right, the majhul verb is a passive form verb where the doer is not specified. The doer will not be mentioned. With a passive verb, so when you just something to note as well. When you have a majhul verb, it doesn't mean there's no doer for the action. If I say kutiba al-kitabu, the book was written, it doesn't mean there's no writer. In fact, there is a writer. When you use a majhul verb, there is a writer. It's just, or the fa'il is just not mentioned. Right? There are other verb forms where if you want to, like, for example, say something just happened by itself. Like if I say, hada yahdi means to guide. Hada yahdi means to guide. Now, what if I say, hudiya rajulu? The man was guided, right? Is there somebody that guided him? Yes, but not mentioned because the majhul form is used. If I want to say there was no external guide, he just did it by himself, then I will have to say, ihtada rajulu. On the 8th verb. The man was guided, but now there's no there's no fa'il to be, there's no fa'il intended. It's like it happened by itself. You understand? So when I use a majhul form, there is a fa'il. The fa'il is just not mentioned. So we don't even look for the fa'il. What we do look for is the maf'ulun bihi that's been upgraded to raf, and we now call it the naibul fa'il. And I do that the same way I look for the fa'il, ili. Right? So majhul verb, where the do is not specified. And whenever we have this passive verb or the majhul verb, the maf'ulun bihi takes the grammatical place of the fa'il. Not the meaning, but just in terms of grammar. It takes the raf state. And we now call it the naibul fa'il. So here, let's look. 2 examples. Nasara ar-rajulu al-walada. The man helped the boy. The fa'il and the maf'ul are mentioned. If I want to put it in a passive form, if I want the doer not to be mentioned, then I have to say nusira al-waladu. The maf'ul bihi now gets upgraded to raf. What would happen if I just said nasara al-walada? Then it might be missing in terms of form, but now the file is just going to be inside. He helped the boy. So you can't do that. You have to change the verb to majhul. You have to change the verb to majhul if you don't want the doer to be mentioned at all. Right. Okay. Then another point that I mentioned to you, that I mentioned this to you before. How do you form the majhul verb? This is not connected to naibul fa'il. But to know when to look for the naibul fa'il, you need to know how to identify a majhul verb. Right? So what was the rule that I gave you? It always starts with a dhamma. Right? And if it's past tense, then what? The second root letter, the ayn kalima, will have a kasra. And if it's present tense, it will start with a dhamma, and the second root letter will have a fatha. Right? And if you want to remember that rule, just keep the first example in mind. Fu'ila yuf'alu. Fu'ila starts with a dhamma, right? The second root letter, the ayn, has a kasra for past tense. For present tense, yuf'alu starts with a dhamma, second root letter has a fatha. Yuf'alu. Right? And that applies to all the other abwab. Did you do the majhul verb for all the other abwab? Second verb will be what? Fu'ila yufa'alu. Third verb will be fu'ila yufa'alu. Fourth verb will be what? Uf'ila yuf'alu. Yuf'alu. The same like the first verb. They look exactly the same. Right? They look exactly the same. Fifth verb, tufu'ila yutafa'alu. Sixth verb, tufu'ila yutafa'alu. Seventh verb, which usually doesn't get used, unfu'ila yunfa'alu. Eighth verb, uftu'ila yufta'alu. Ninth verb doesn't get used either. Uf'ulla yuf'allu. And that doesn't get used, it's just a theoretical thing, right? And the 10th verb, ustuf'ila yustaf'alu. So you see it applies through all the verbs, right? Starts with dhamma. Past tense has a kasra on the second root letter. Present tense has a fatha on the second root letter. On the fourth verb, the mudari, how does the fourth verb sound? Af'ala yuf'ilu. So that doesn't follow the rule, right? So you know that's not majhul. Yuf'alu. Because here it starts with the u. but it's present tense. The second root letter must have a fatha, but yet has a kasra. So I know that it is not majhool. That's ma'lum. So it's not only the dhamma at the beginning. So dhamma at the beginning, plus you must check the haraka of the second root letter. If it's past tense, it must have a kasra. If it's present tense, it must have a fatha. Say again. Word has a dhamma. Yes, but that's what I'm telling you. It's not just the dhamma. It's the dhamma and the haraka on the second root letter. Right? And that's pretty much it for the naibul fa'il. So I think I listed them here for you. So what I did here is, in this exercise, I simply put down all the different verbs. Right? You see, fa'ala, 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 af'ala, tafa'ala, tafa'ala, infa'ala, ifta'ala, if'ala, istaf'ala. What I want you to do there is form the majhul form. Fu'ila, 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 etc. Some of them might be a bit tricky, but we'll rectify them when we get there. And then the next one, for the present tense, yaf'alu will become yuf'alu, yufa'ilu, yufa'alu, etc. And then here's the actual exercise. Here's the actual exercise, which I will send to you, right? The actual exercise, what do I want you to do here? Translate the sentences, but most importantly, just highlight for me the naibul fa'il. Underline it, whatever. So for example, here, futihati sama'u. What will it be? Sama'u. Okay. What about liman yuqtalu fi sabilillahi amwatun? It's a bit of a tricky one. It's inside there. It's inside, referring to the man. So how are you going to look for it? How do you look for the naibul fa'il? The same way you look for the fa'il, ili. So you're going to just do ili in all of these. Wherever you see a majhul verb, you're going to do ili, right? So, okay. So I will now I will extract that, send you the exercise. You can do the exercise. I'll send you the answers, and then we can see if there's any questions, right? Did you send the whole two? Did you already? Okay. So if okay, I'll just ask you to send the exercises separately. So if you have it already, you can work on it already. I'll just ask you to send the exercises separately so that you have it now with this week's stuff, and the answers as well. So I'm going to send you this exercise and the answers for the last exercise, inshallah. Okay, maybe we can get to our ayah. We finished this verse now, did we? We went through most of it.